24,444. We have the 6-box break of 25-26, Upper Deck Series 1. We have a Compadre Speckle for Detroit of DeBrincat and Larkin, a canvas for Vancouver of Pedersen, and a composition of Tyler Toffoli for the San Jose Sharks. Encore for Washington of John Carlson, sizzle reels of Luke Hughes for New Jersey, and a Rory Cairns Young Guns for Calgary. Outburst base for Nashville, Philip Forsberg. Sizzle reels of OV for Washington. Cup Quest for Chicago of Connor Bedard. Young Guns of Yanni Nyman for Seattle. Goal oriented for Nashville of Stamkos. And a Nyman Young Guns canvas for Seattle. Clear-cut base of Michael Matheson for Montreal, encore of Wyatt Johnston for Dallas, and a tracking systems for Florida of Sergei Bobrovsky. Compadres for Tampa of Kucherov and Hedman, Young Guns of Victor Ostman for Seattle, and a portraits for Calgary of Nazem Kadri. Dazzlers for Washington of Alex Ovechkin, canvas for Colorado of Makar, and a portraits for Montreal of Laine. Encore for the Rangers of JT Miller, tracking systems for Vancouver of Thatcher Demko, and a Young Guns for Seattle of Nicholas Coco. Oh, fun. A Bustle for Carolina of Logan Stankoven, compositions for Tampa of Jake Gensel, and a Population Count 10 for the Buffalo Sabres of JJ Peterka. Canvas of Matthew Barzal for the New York Islanders, Young Guns for Boston of Riley Duran, and a compositions for Colorado of Makar. Encore of Connor Bedard for Chicago, Cup Quest Speckle for LA of Kempe, and a sizzle reel of McDavid for Edmonton. Sizzle reel for Colorado of Makar, Gabe Perreault Young Guns for the Rangers, and a Cup Quest for Vancouver of Thatcher Demko. Box 2. Tracking system speckle of Darcy Kemper for LA, canvas of Barbashev for Vegas, and a compositions for Florida of Matthew Tkachuk. Encore of William Nylander for Toronto, sizzle reel for Anaheim of Mason McTavish, and a Young Guns of Nicholas Coco for Seattle. Oh, fun. Sizzle reel of Cole Perfetti for Winnipeg, goal oriented for Detroit of Lucas Raymond, and a Young Guns outburst for Chicago, Artyom Levshinov. Young Guns outburst. Dazzlers for Buffalo of Tage Thompson, canvas for Nashville of Roman Josi, and a goal-oriented for Edmonton of McDavid. Encore of Chris Letang for Pittsburgh, tracking systems for Seattle of Grubauer, and a Donovan Sabrango Young Guns for Ottawa. Nice, Dusty, congrats! so fun. Bustle of Matt Boldy for Minnesota. Compositions for Pittsburgh of Erik Karlsson. My goodness gracious. And we have a Young Guns Deluxe, number to 250, also for Chicago, Oliver Moore. Canvas of Dougie Hamilton for New Jersey. Riley Duran, Young Guns for Boston. Cup Quest for Dallas of J-Rob. Black and white canvas for Calgary of Huberdeau. Encore of Pavel Zacha for Boston. And a Dustin Wolf tracking systems for Calgary. Compadres of Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov for Carolina. Young Guns for St. Louis of Jimmy Snuggerud. And a portrait of Matthew Wood for the Nashville Predators. Canvas of Josh Norris for Buffalo. Owen Sillinger, Young Guns for Columbus. And a Cup Quest for New Jersey of Timo Meier. Encore for Buffalo of Alex Tuck. Portrait Speckle for Florida of Matthew Tkachuk. And a Sizzle Reel for Edmonton of Draisaitl. Sizzle Reel of Kent Johnson for Columbus. Dylan Duke, Young Guns for Tampa. And a Portraits for New Jersey of Dougie Hamilton. Box 3. Compadre Speckle of Aho and Svechnikov for Carolina. Canvas for Boston of McAvoy. And a Compositions of Clayton Keller for Utah. Encore for the Rangers of Zibanejad. Tracking systems for Minnesota of Gustafson. And a Sam Rinzel Young Guns for Chicago. Bustle for Carolina of Seth Jarvis. Goal-oriented for Colorado of McKinnon. And the Young Guns Outburst for Carolina, Ryan Suzuki. I think we're doing well this break. Ryan Suzuki, Young Guns Outburst. Hey, there we go. Dazzlers for Colorado of Martin Necas. Canvas of Zellweger for Anaheim. And a goal-oriented of Eichel for Vegas. Encore for Nashville of UC Soros. Bustle for Florida of Sam Reinhart. And a Tim Wash Young Guns for the Anaheim Ducks. We have a deluxe base number to 250 for the Rangers of Braden Schneider. Compadres for Florida of Matthew Tkachuk and Barkov. And a Sean Monahan Compositions for Columbus. We have a Young Guns of Jacob Skarek for the Islanders. Cup Quest for Pittsburgh of Erik Karlsson. And a Young Guns canvas of Ville Koivunen for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Clear cut base of Mark Kostelic for Boston. Encore for Toronto of Matthew Nyes. And a Matthew Nyes sizzle reel for Toronto. Sizzle reel of Wyatt Johnston for Dallas. Young Guns of Zane Parikh for Calgary. And a portraits of Linus Ullmark for Ottawa. Canvas of Drew Doughty for LA. Victor Ostman Young Guns for Seattle. And a Cup Quest for Edmonton of Zach Hyman. Encore of Svechnikov for Carolina. Composition Speckle for Winnipeg of Kyle Connor. And a sizzle reel of Sebastian Aho for Carolina. A Tracking Systems of Mackenzie Blackwood for Colorado. Ian Moore Young Guns for Anaheim. And a Portraits for Florida of Matthew Tkachuk. Box 4. Tracking system speckle of Dustin Wolf for Calgary. Canvas for the Rangers of Keandre Miller. And a portrait of Josh Morrissey for Winnipeg. Encore of Alexander Barkov for Florida. Compadres for Edmonton of Draisaitl and McDavid. And a Young Guns for Winnipeg of Parker Ford. Outburst base of Parker Kelly for Colorado. Sizzle reel of Marchenko for Columbus. And a Sebastian Aho composition for Carolina. Canvas of Anthony Duclair for the Islanders. Ethan Frank Young Guns for Washington. And a compositions for Winnipeg of Kyle Connor. Encore of Cider for the Detroit Red Wings. Tracking systems for Vegas of Aiden Hill. And a Donovan Sabrengo Young Guns canvas, black and white. Bustle for Columbus of Zach Werenski. Young Guns of Gabe Perreault for the New York Rangers. And a goal-oriented for Tampa of Braden Point. Dazzlers for Philly of Owen Tippett. Dmitry Vronkov canvas for Columbus. And a Cup Quest for Winnipeg of Hellebuck. Encore for Nashville of Philip Forsberg. Sizzle reel for Nashville of Philip Forsberg. And an Elias Pettersson Young Guns for Vancouver. Dazzlers pink for Dallas of Thomas Harley. Sizzle reel of Kyle Connor for Winnipeg. And a Brant Clark portraits for the LA Kings. Canvas of Lucas Raymond for the Detroit Red Wings. Justin Robidas Young Guns for Carolina. And a goal-oriented of Kirill Marchenko for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Encore of Cale Makar for Colorado. Portraits speckle for LA Brant Clark. And a tracking systems for Boston of Jeremy Swayman. Compadres for San Jose of Toffoli and Celebrini. Young Guns for Detroit of Dominic Shine. And a compositions for St. Louis of Robert Thomas. Johnson for Columbus, canvas for Vegas of Pietrangelo, and a Cup Quest for Minnesota of Kirill Kaprizov. Encore for Edmonton of Evan Bouchard, tracking systems for Tampa of Andrei Vasilevsky, and a Matthew Robertson Young Guns for the Rangers. Outburst base for the Ottawa Senators of Artem Zub, compadres for Montreal of Line and Slavkovsky, and a portraits for Washington of Ovechkin. Young Guns of Carter Mazur for Detroit, goal-oriented for Minnesota of Kirill Kaprizov, and a Young Guns canvas for Edmonton of Olivier Rodrigue. Black and white canvas of Will Smith for the Sharks. Encore of Juraj Slavkovsky for Montreal. And a tracking systems of Joseph Woll for Toronto. Bustle of Evander Kane for the Edmonton Oilers. Oliver Moore Young Guns for Chicago. Compositions of David Pastrnak for Boston. Dazzlers for Utah of Logan Cooley. Canvas of Sebastian Aho for Carolina. And a Cup Quest for Buffalo of Tage Thompson. Encore for Colorado of Devin Tays. Sizzle reel of Owen Tippett for Philly. Artyom Slevshnov Young Guns for Chicago. We have an Encore Gold, numbered to 50, Cole Perfetti for the Winnipeg Jets. A sizzle reel of Crosby for Pittsburgh, and a portraits of Quinn Hughes for Vancouver. Canvas of Kirill Marchenko for Columbus, Jacob Quillen Young Guns for Toronto, and a Leon Draisaitl portrait for Edmonton. Encore for Chicago, Oliver Moore. Goal-oriented speckle of Marchenko for Columbus. And tracking systems for the Rangers of Shesterkin. Compadres for Washington of Ovi and Wilson. Young Guns for Nashville of Joaquim Kamel. And a Compositions for the Islanders of Matthew Barzal. Last box mojo. Tracking System Speckle of Cam Talbot for Detroit. Canvas for Pittsburgh of Crosby. Cup Quest for the Rangers of Kreider. Encore of Zane Parikh for Calgary. Tracking Systems for Ottawa of Ullmark. And a Luca Cagnoni Young Guns for San Jose. Outburst Base of Seth Jarvis for Carolina. Bustle for Vancouver of Kiefer Sherwood. And a Portraits for Buffalo of Noah Ostlund. Canvas of Elvis Merzlikins for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Young Guns for Philly of Carson Dorwart. And a Portraits for Chicago of Bedard. Encore of Dylan Strome for Washington. Sizzle Reel of David Pastrnak for Boston. And a Young Guns clear cut of Matthew Wood for the Nashville Predators. Sizzle Reel of Sam Reinhart for Florida. Dalibor Dvorsky Young Guns for St. Louis. Compositions for Edmonton and McDavid. Dazzlers for Columbus of Kirill Marchenko. Canvas for Seattle of Brandon Montour. And a Compositions for Minnesota of Marco Rossi. Encore for LA of Brant Clark. Tracking Systems for Montreal of Montembeault. And a Yanni Nyman Young Guns for Seattle. Compadres of Forsberg and Yossi for Nashville. Goal-oriented for Ottawa of Brady Tkachuk. And a Swagnificent for the San Jose Sharks. Macklin Celebrini. Canvas for St. Louis of Jake Neighbors. Young Guns of Ozzy Weisblatt for Nashville. And a Cup Quest of Kyle Connor for the Winnipeg Jets. Honestly, this has been a very, very solid break. Encore for Minnesota of Marco Rossi. Sebastian Aho Composition Speckle for Carolina. And a Joey Daccord Tracking Systems for Seattle. And we finish off with a Bustle of Alex Tuck for Buffalo, a Young Guns for the Islanders of Mark Gatcomb, and a Portraits for Detroit of Cider. There we go, folks.